This tornado had wind speeds over 300 miles per hour, but
it was only rated an EF3.
What's up guys, it's Kayla.
And Jim.
Welcome back to another Meteorology Monday. So how can a tornado have wind speeds well into the EF5 scale range, but only be rated an EF3?
There's some history that goes into this, and today's video is going to be more focused on more of a conversational video versus something like you would see in the case study. Now, we've already done a video on the EF scale, and you can go ahead and check that out. Editing Kayla will put that in the description below. But let's go back to the history, and that is that the first scale was the F scale, and Dr. Ted Fujita from the University of Chicago in Illinois put out a damage scale based on wind speed. He had a whole team, etc., etc. But basically he was the one known for putting this scale together and for it coming to fruition for what the meteorological community has accepted as looking at damage and rating the tornado based on wind speed because of the damage. Well, over time, there was discovery for improvements.
Right.
And so Dr. Fujita improved it in 1992, but it was one of those, okay, take one from this guy and add it over here and borrow another one and carry the one. And it was a little bit confusing because it was like, you're taking away, but then you're adding it back in. And the intention was there, and it was a great effort to try to advance the scale based on more modern housing construction, etc., etc. But then evolved a team that came together and they said, you know what, we need to enhance this even more. And therefore, they looked at a bunch of different criteria, damage indicators, surveys, a lot of other things, and they came up with a new Enhanced Fujita scale. And one of those things was it needed to seamlessly tie into the old scale so that you could have winds at a certain speed, but it didn't contradict what the science was years before when they used the Fujita scale. So a little bit of a history lesson there. We didn't want to get too deep into the weeds on it, but we just wanted to give you a little bit of background. What we wanted to do with today's video was discuss more of the controversy behind it, and that is a lot of people talk about, well, if winds are estimated at 300 miles an hour, it should be an EF5, but it gets rated an EF3, things along that line.
Yep.
So we're going to get into that in just a minute, but before we get started,
If you find that you're enjoying this video along the way, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below so you never miss the next Meteorology Monday. So the main controversial aspect of the Enhanced Fujita scale and the Fujita scale comes down to one basic thing, and that is that it is a damage scale. These tornadoes are being rated off of the damage that they produce. So you might ask yourself, well, what if a massive tornado is in the middle of the field and it doesn't hit anything? That is what we're discussing today.
that's right. Recent tornadoes within the past year. We've got the tornado in North Dakota, we've got a tornado in Arkansas, as well as Texas and Oklahoma, of course, because you get these strong tornadoes that develop, and then they are maturing and are roaring along in rural areas and really don't hit much of anything. It's really hard for the survey teams to go out and they can see things like, okay, if it hit a well-constructed house and it pulled up the concrete, but it's more than just a corner of the concrete. It's got to lift an appreciable amount. Is there another house where this happened to? Is there consistency here in this damage path? Or could this have just been poor construction? It could have been a one-off thing. Just because something gets swept away doesn't automatically give it the EF5 rating.
Also because sometimes these tornadoes have tiny little vortices within them that have much higher wind speeds, but it's not the overall tornado that is producing these winds. It might be just a tiny little spin up. And if that tiny little spin up happens to hit something and causes, EF5 damage, but then the rest of the path looks suspiciously like EF2 damage, then, well, they kind of use that as an outlier and throw it away, and they rate it with what is most consistent.
So the purpose of today's video is more to have a conversation, bring to awareness. think a lot of people are becoming aware more recently, especially
yeah.
over this past decade, just how tornadoes are rated, what the process is, and where do we go from here? Because sometimes it doesn't seem like everything is captured. Some of these tornadoes are very complex entities that are, we've got, like you said, multiple vortices. Well, I would consider counting the additional wind speed there because that tornado rolls right over, that vortice rolls right over a house. It's going to do that EF scaled damage.
Right.
And even if the rest of it didn't, I would think that that would be considered.
Yeah.
Now, is that something they consider? Is it something that they are considering adding more weight to it and saying, okay, that does factor? What are your thoughts about it?
Right.
A lot of you have actually gone through a tornado or a town that's been damaged by tornadoes, and you're like, oh, for sure, this is EF4, for sure, and it comes back EF2 or low EF3, and you're scratching your head, you're going, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into assessing. We do understand that there have been some folks that have mentioned there's a political side to it, so we want to at least acknowledge that.
We'll put that in here.
we won't get too deep in the weeds on that. There's always something political with something everywhere, obviously.
Especially if it's the government.
But, we acknowledge that could potentially be a factor, yes. But, we're just going to have our conversation about, well, what about this? What about that? It makes sense to include that, but then there might be a different angle. You might think, well, we shouldn't include that because of these other things. Yeah. And I know that when they put the EF scale together, they did have a comprehensive attempt to enhance the Fujita scale. Enhanced Fujita scale came out in 2007, I believe. Yep. So it's been a little bit.
It has been a while, and if you're interested, I can leave the full parameters for what defines each of the levels of the EF scale. So it has been about 20 years since this Enhanced Fujita scale has been how we measure tornadoes, and there is talks to enhance it further. The EEF scale, one might say.
Add another E.
We just keep adding E's, but it is a big topic of discussion nowadays in the meteorological community as these stronger and stronger tornadoes happen, out in the middle of nowhere, Texas, Oklahoma, Iowa, Nebraska. If you've ever been out there, there's not a lot going on. So unless this tornado rolls over, like Houston, Texas, it's probably not going to get an accurate rating, or unless it hits something major like a town like Joplin did to get the rating that it did, or the Moore tornado to get the rating that it did, which of course is never the case that we want. We want these tornadoes spinning out in the middle of the field, not impacting anybody's lives. However, it does lead to discrepancies in how we rate them and how historically those statistics are put together, especially nowadays. In the past few years, there's been quite a few tornadoes who have gotten that EF4 rating that potentially could have gotten the 5 rating. Because if you don't know, up until this past year, it had been since 2013 since the last EF5 tornado impacted the United States. So there's a big gap in the statistics there, where some tornadoes that wind speed wise could be categorized as these higher tornadoes don't get put in those buckets, and it shows this 20-something plus year drought of EF5 tornadoes because, again, the EF scale is a damage scale.
So one could ask, was there truly a drought of EF5s,
right,
or was there just tornadoes in a field that just didn't get that rating because it's a damage scale? You can infer a lot from the data by just looking at it on paper and going, gee, if we've had such a gap, you could assume, well, that's because. But the thing is we have to get back to the core of measurement and observation, because if we get a data set that is not right from the beginning, it's going to skew the rest of everything and history, and then it's going to lead people to think, oh, we've been in a slump, when the reality is maybe we haven't been, it just hasn't been labeled as that because of these other parameters. So we have to look at all the data,
all of it,
and make sure that the approach is sound and that we don't get into a panic where, okay, it stopped and now, oh my God, it's coming back and now people are starting to freak out. So we have to make sure that we have the data right from the beginning. And if that's the case, then okay, weather goes in cycles. Hurricanes, they form more frequently over certain seasons, and it's like that for a period of years, and then there's a lull. You have La Nina, you have El Nino, things go in cycles. So Would strong tornadoes go in cycles too? Sure, it's very probable and has been in the past. Of course, we've got so many chasers nowadays.
Yes,
it's kind of hard for a storm to sneak on by without anybody taking a look at it.
Honestly, the chaser traffic these days. But that is something that they're taking into account for what could potentially be an enhanced Fujita scale. There are so many of the Doppler on wheels, or DOWs, now being put out into the field for scientific research. There's so many chasers out there. Everybody has a cell phone. A lot of these chasers are equipping their vehicles with instrumentation. So we have a lot more information about these tornadoes, which, again, even if it is measured on Doppler to be a certain wind speed, it does not mean that that's what it'll be rated. Because again, say it with me, the EF scale is a damage scale.
Again, we're keeping it casual, guys. I got myself my cold brew.
Exactly.
It's coffee. It's coffee.
Hey,
Come on, guys.
hey.
We're mixing it up now.
That's right. So another thing to go along with that drought fact, that a lot of people use that statistic to say, for 20 years we did not have strong storms, whereas that's not accurate if you're going off of what the EF scale statistics are telling you for the past 20 years. The only thing that we can really infer is that no strong storm formed that hit these parameters. It did not hit well-constructed homes. It did not go through a major city. It didn't do the list of things that would get it rated that high on the EF scale. That's really all we can infer from that, is that no strong storm hit a populated area. No strong storms existed for this 20-year period.
And we do want to encourage you to go back and check out our Enhanced Fujita scale video that we did a while back. It gives you all the details and all the history to it to help understand. So for those of you that this is the first time you're hearing of it, or you've heard about it before but really don't have much of an understanding or a background in it, and you really want to get up to speed quick, go ahead, check that video out, because it is a little complicated in the process.
It's hard to wrap your brain around, like, oh, it's getting rated this, you know, it gets rated an EF5, so it's a massive tornado, but there's no EF5s, which means that there's no massive tornadoes, but it's not, because it's a damage scale.
That's right. And a lot of things people will associate, well, this looks like it's a mile wide.
Right.
Well, in the past, a mile wide tornado had these kind of winds, and therefore that's an F5, so yeah, we would categorize that as EF5. Now when people see mile wide tornadoes, they automatically assume EF5. That's not a bad, estimate. It's not not a bad assumption. That's the word I'm looking for. But at the same time, yeah, not necessarily, because you got these other factors. Well, that tornado, like the Wichita Falls tornado, that actually went through Wichita Falls, so we actually had a damage path and can associate the damage to a Fujita scale. It's back in 1979. But now that we have the Enhanced Fujita scale, and things are a little bit different, it could still be 200 plus miles an hour, but if it didn't hit anything, that's where we start getting into the, so one could argue on the flip side, what would have happened if the Wichita Falls tornado never went through anything and was in a field and was spinning at 260 miles an hour? Would it have been
no, it wouldn't have gotten that rating.
The argument is just as valid going the other way. So
exactly.
But that's what we want to do, is kind of let's talk about this, because there is talks for them to enhance the Enhanced Fujita scale. And what could we do to contribute to this from a meteorological community perspective?
How could we incorporate wind speeds or change it to a wind speed scale altogether? With all of the people and DOWs and everything out in the fields recording these things, surely we have enough wind speed data, right? I mean, Tornado Alley is quite big, and now, especially with the tornadoes moving towards the east, you got Dixie Alley, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of trees towards the east, so would it really be a scale that you could use outside of flat open areas where you can get radars in there? So it gets into this whole complicated thing. But going back to the statistics portion of this again for a second, we do have the Fujita scale versus the Enhanced Fujita scale, and one of the big differences between those two scales is what quantifies an F5 versus an EF5. They really lowered the bar down to 200 miles an hour for it to be considered an EF5. So if you're looking back at F4 tornadoes and stuff beforehand, translating that into the
Mm-hmm.
EF scale today would also skew the statistics a certain way.
Because the EF scale is, again, they're looking at damage, not just damage to homes, but to
trees, to power lines,
trees.
to uprooting fence posts, to the concrete.
It's very detailed. There's a lot of different
commercial structures,
Yeah.
lots of things. How far did it throw a car? How heavy was the car? Did it throw a tractor trailer? How far did it throw that?
Was the fence post in cement 3
Yeah.
feet down? I mean, there's a lot that goes into it.
And it takes a long time to get accurate ratings.
Yes.
There's a lot that goes into the surveying and then comparing that data to other survey teams.
Props to the survey teams. I mean, they've
Oh, yeah.
got a tremendous
They have
job.
a lot going on.
Tremendous job. Just put yourself in their shoes for a second. Let's say, for an example, an EF5 wound up hitting a house, leveling it to the foundation, but then damage from the debris from the neighbor's house came and landed
Right.
back on their foundation. So when the damage team goes out and looks, they can't automatically assume that that belongs
To the foundation.
to the
house,
foundation
yeah.
of the house that was
Yeah.
there. That car, does that car truly belong here, or was
was
that
it
car
thrown
the
from over
neighbor's?
there? Yeah.
So they really have a lot to go through to sort that out. And again, then they can use that information to determine a wind speed and kind of put you in the category, but based on damage scale, and you can assess a wind speed based on engineering principles.
Right.
But it's, again, still based on damage scale.
And
So,
human interpretation of that as well.
yes, there's always going to be that too.
Yeah. But AI is not coming for our jobs. ChatGPT, you can't take this from us.
I wonder, that would be interesting if you gave an aerial photo to an experienced human surveyor
Yeah.
and AI, based on what it's able to gather off the internet, who would come up with the more accurate damage scale, the EF, an EF rating for it? That would be interesting.
That's for a future video when I feel differently about AI, which I won't. So somebody feel free to do it in the comments below if that's something that interests you.
Again, props to the survey team.
Yeah.
I know they are under a lot of pressure to make sure that they check everything and make sure that it's accurately assessed. And I remember there was one instance where a tornado came through and then another tornado came through the same area like a half hour later. So it's like,
Yeah.
now how do you sort that out?
Right.
It's kind of like with Helene and Milton.
Milton, yeah.
On the west coast of Tampa. It's like, okay, here's damage from Helene, then damage from Milton. So how do you sort it out?
Right.
When did what happen? So
Right.
it is a big, daunting task.
It's a very gray area, and it leads to these types of discussions.
That's right. And we want to have you guys included as well.
course.
Go ahead, throw your comments down below.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think about this. Hit us from different angles.
Yeah.
Let us know what you're thinking about this. This is, again, a conversation starter.
Conversation.
And maybe someday we can collect this and hand this off to somebody that can do something about it.
Okay. Just not Hollywood. They'll ruin it like
Just
they
not
ruin everything
Hollywood.
else.
Hollywood, no.
So there's the start of the conversation on the controversy that is the EF scale and how we currently rate tornadoes and how recent tornadoes have been rated compared to what people think that they should be rated or they should have been rated. Again, if you like what you saw, be sure to leave a like, subscribe down below so you never miss the next Meteorology Monday. Follow us over on social media, Facebook and Instagram. Check out our website, we got merch available over there. And until next time, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Jim.
Thanks for watching.
And we'll see you at the next Meteorology Monday.